Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a video game that I am very excited for that's releasing tomorrow as we speak. As a gamer but also a hardcore Star Wars fan, I am ludicrously excited for what this game can offer just based on how I felt about Jedi Fallen Order, which was the first game, but also how Jedi Survivor can potentially expand the universe and the lore of Star Wars and just offer for a great and fun gaming experience. For me, Jedi Fallen Order is such a fantastic Star Wars game that, with what it was able to replicate off taking in the concept of trying to be like the Uncharted series of video games and turning that into a Star Wars game, I thought they really did well with that first entry. Here with the second game, so far, from what we've seen from the gameplay footage and the trailers, it looks like they are replicating that yet again. On top of all this, there are a lot of reasons why I'm excited for this game, of which I want to talk about here, and I want to discuss with you all, and we can maybe have a conversation about it. Firstly, as I mentioned already, I really liked Jedi Fallen Order very much, and everything that was in that game, from the looks of it, is going to be continued on here in Jedi Survivor. From the gameplay mechanics, to the Uncharted-like feel of exploration, and the action set pieces of who you will be fighting, and how you will be fighting, it all feels very inside of this world that was already set up from the first game. Moving on to the next point, which has to do with the differences from the first. In this case, it would only be the story. It doesn't look like we are going to follow the same type of story with what the first game did. We've already developed Cal Kestis' character as an origin story and his new family of friends, and so it looks like in the second game, the story is only going to follow an even bigger conflict for him to go through. Granted, I don't actually really know what could possibly be a bigger conflict to fight over than being chased down by Darth Vader in the Fortress Inquisitorius, but hey, you never really know what's going to happen. It looks like we are going to be seeing the same characters that we got from the first game back again, which is awesome, and I really dug those characters. We are going to see how they've progressed over the 5 years that takes place after Fallen Order, and hopefully we can potentially meet some new people along the way as well. So far, from the looks of it, other than the villains, we do meet a new friendly character who is going to be going on journeys with Cal as a friend to fight alongside with. And speaking of those villains, this moves into the next reason why I'm excited, which is the fact that from the looks of it, we are going to be continuing this notion that Cal has to fight Jedi-like villains who wield lightsabers and potentially the Force as well. Granted, we don't know if all of these characters are going to be Jedi, but in this case, we do know that they will be wielding those lightsabers and could potentially also hold the Force inside of them. We've already seen one character who holds an orangish red saber with the same type of hilt and design that a character like Kylo Ren had, where it looks like a sword-type lightsaber. I wonder if that will actually lead into anything sequel related or not, or if these are new characters or characters that have been inside of Star Wars lore before but are being showcased here in the game. One of the other main villains we are looking to potentially fight against is a character by the name of Ravis, or Ravis, which is a pretty cool name, who is the species of Gendai. For those of you who are Star Wars fans but may not remember, the most famous and well-known use of this species was in the original Tartakovsky Clone Wars animation from 2003 to 2005, where we saw the character of Dirge. The way that the character was translated into action in that series was incredibly cool, and I'm really hoping here in this game they do the exact same thing, at least to some degree, when he's fighting against Cal. It's also a species that doesn't get a lot of representation in Star Wars from the looks of it, and so I'm hoping they do him right and make him badass enough to where there's a good chance he might die, but at least he'll die fighting in a great way against Cal. I don't know how they would kill him because from the looks of it, even Jedi struggle to kill his race if you've seen the original Tartakovsky Clone Wars. From doing research, apparently his character is going to be the main antagonist, and his goal is to see the race of Jedi cease to exist, so it could be a big opponent for Cal the Face, and I'm excited for that even more. Then finally, in terms of villains, at least from the looks of it that has been confirmed already, we have the Jedi Survivor himself, who is not going to be a good guy, but he is going to be a bad guy who works with Ravis. It also looks like from breaking it down, he is of the High Republic era, which is a new era of Star Wars which Disney has created through mainly books as of right now. But this is at least looking like it could be the first breakthrough into another piece of media in video games that we see in this era of New Republic type characters. I personally have not read any of the High Republic era books yet, but from the looks of it, I've heard some good things and also some mid-level things about them. Even though I am looking forward to see what this character is about and why he was trapped in a Bacta tank, for some reason, I do kind of wish that they didn't make him a villain, because I feel like that kind of thing has been done already in too many different pieces of media too many times. This idea of you find someone who was lost from history and awakes, but instead of them becoming a good guy, they were actually a bad guy in their past and now come to wreak havoc in present time. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but personally I do kind of wish that they made him a good guy. We also see what looks like a Powan species of character, who is another main villain character when we saw the original cinematic trailer that we got, so that can also be pretty big, and overall it looks like we are going to be getting a lot of villains to fight against, which I am all here for, and I'm hoping the story is good for that. Usually there are many different types of media out there that when they use multiple different villains, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it usually can just be best to do either one or two, but we'll see. I'm hoping the story does well for that kind of thing. This next point delves into Star Wars as a whole, more so than many of the other different points, which relates to the characters and planets. In this case, we are getting the Empire back again, which could be very interesting as we are seeing the introduction of Dark Troopers as another threat to fight, along with the other different various threats that the Empire already holds, from Stormtroopers to everything else that you've already seen before in Star Wars. I do wonder if we'll see Vader again, although I think it would be a little repetitive to bring him back again. I'm sure we might see an Inquisitor pop up considering the time period, but probably not Vader. We are also going to be seeing some old school Clone Wars era battle droids, from regular B1s to super battle droids and even commando droids, so that should be pretty fun to fight against considering they were probably reprogrammed under whatever villain we might be fighting against who controls them. Then of course, to end all of that off, there are probably going to be a lot of different types of creatures who will be fighting and dismembering like we did in the first game. And speaking of dismemberment, I will say it's cool to see that they are putting this in game for non-animal characters and human level threats, but that is something for me that is not make or break, because it's always been inconsistent in Star Wars as a whole anyway. I think it's a cool addition to lightsaber combat, but it doesn't make or break how much fun it could be to use a lightsaber. Again, I want to make this clear. I think dismemberment is cool. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not a make or break thing for me in a Star Wars video game, especially when we're talking about a game that is heavily focused on story. In terms of the planets we'll be visiting, the only two that have been confirmed so far are Coruscant, and then, if I pronounce this correctly, Kobo, which is a planet that's been featured heavily in the trailers so far. I do love that in a lot of recent Star Wars projects we are seeing a lot of Coruscant, so it's cool we are going there for this game yet again. Other than that, those are really a lot of the different reasons why I'm excited for this game. And overall, the final point I will make here is that, in general, the biggest reason of them all for why I'm excited is just plain and simple the idea that we are getting another Star Wars game already. It's been a good long time since Battlefront 2 came out, which is more of the multiplayer side of Star Wars gaming. And I know we also got Star Wars Squadrons a couple of years ago, but overall, while that game was decent, it didn't last a long time, and its multiplayer was seen less than what its story was. Overall, I'm really just hoping for a decent game to be made out of this one, and hopefully down the line it is good enough to where we can get a third one. It's an enjoyable world in Star Wars and a storyline that I think a lot of fans like. So here's hoping starting Friday, our journey is very successful and loved by all different types of fans. So overall, I'm going to end off this video by asking you all, what are you most excited for when it comes to Jedi Survivor? Is there anything in particular that this game has shown you so far that you are most intrigued by, or is there anything from Jedi Fallen Order that you loved in that game that you are looking forward to seeing progress in this one? Leave me all your thoughts down below in the comments and we can have a good, nice discussion about it. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your days and a great start to your Jedi Survivor journeys tomorrow. May the Force be with you.